Hello everyone, Charcoal here and welcome back to a closer look. Today we're looking at the RainWings. I'll be covering their biology, society, and history, and then giving them an overall score. Let's get started. RainWings have thin, slender bodies with short, curved horns, frills behind their ears, and small spines that run from their neck to the tip of their tail, and they can use their tail to hang from trees. They also have long fangs that can shoot venom, which can dissolve basically any organic material it touches. However, it can be neutralized by the venom of a direct blood relative. We don't know exactly how closely related they have to be, but we do know descendants and siblings definitely work. The main call sign of a rainwing is their color-changing scales. When a rainwing hatches, they start as a pale green, but when they sleep in sunlight for long periods of time, their scales gain the ability to change color. They typically change based on emotions, but dragons can change them manually if they so choose. This also gives them the ability to camouflage and become invisible. I would say Rainwing society is arguably one of the most unique compared to the other Pyrean tribes. The biggest thing to note about them is that they are pacifists. Their main weapons against intruders are blow darts that merely tranquilize, not kill, and they'll only resort to using their own venom in extreme circumstances. As for their royal challenges, unlike most tribes where the queen and challenger fight to the death, Rainwings have them compete in a series of games such as fruit gathering, racing, and venom shooting. Another big difference is how family units work. In short, they don't. When two Rainwings get together, they'll do a quick venom test to make sure they're not related to prevent inbreeding, but once they lay their egg, it's raised communally with all the other dragonets. They don't keep track of which eggs belong to who. Every day when the sun is at its highest, they participate in an activity called sun time, where they basically just nap in the sun for a while. This makes their scales more vibrant and makes sure younger dragonets will be able to change their color. Now, the queens. They used to operate just like the other tribes with one designated queen at a time, but at the time of the first arc, the throne was shared between 6 dragons, rotating every month. A few of these customs were turned on their heads when Glory took the throne, namely going back to one queen only, teaching everyone how to read and write because for some reason they couldn't before, and keeping better track of their eggs. I'll end this section here because now we're getting into spoilers for the next one. Hi, so I realized while editing this that I completely forgot to include their naming schemes. Rainwings can be named after animals like kinkajou and tamarin, plants like mangrove and orchid, or positive adjectives like magnificent and dazzling. Why I didn't just record it like normal and splice it in so you wouldn't notice, I have absolutely no idea, but let's move on to history. Thousands of years ago, Rainwings were just one of 9 dragon tribes to inhabit Pyria, which at the time was ruled by humans. Eventually, dragons began growing in number, and just over 5,000 years ago, they overthrew humans as the dominant race on the continent in an event known today as the Scorching. After the Scorching, the Rainwings settled into a kingdom in the rainforest on the underbelly of the dragon-shaped continent. The earliest queen of the Rainwings that we know of was Queen Anaconda, about 2,000 years ago in the era of Darkstalker. The Rainwings were a very different tribe back then. They knew how to read and write, everyone seemed to know what kind of powers they possessed, and they were much more outgoing. Rainwing merchants were a common sight around the continent, selling fruits and potions to the other tribes. Fast forward 2,000 years, and things changed. They forgot how to read and write for some reason, became much more isolated, and other tribes' knowledge of their powers seemed to disappear. Eventually, a stereotype developed that Rainwings were lazy and unintelligent. Several decades before present day, the Rainwing Queen was Queen Grandeur. She found all of her daughters to be unsuited for the throne and dissolved the royal family. She would eventually start sharing power with several other dragons, hoping the experience would someday make one of them fit to be the new permanent queen. Unfortunately, none of them were, but we'll come back to that later. Sometime later, a Rainwing named Chameleon was born with a snout deformity that prevented him from sleeping for more than an hour at a time, which meant he was unable to change the color of his scales. He would eventually be banished from the rainforest because everyone found him creepy. He stumbled across Darkstalker's scroll, learned how to read, figured out what the scroll could do, learned how to write, and created several forms for himself, one for each tribe. He would go on to work for Queen Scarlet for several years, and his Skywing form, Soar, would be the father of Peril. Meanwhile, in the rainforest, unbeknownst to Grandeur, one of her granddaughters was set to hatch on the brightest night, but the egg was stolen by webs to become the Rainwing Dragonet of Destiny, replacing the broken Skywing egg. The Dragonet inside was named Glory, and while Glory grew up with the other Dragonets, things weren't all fine and dandy in the rainforest. Several dragons were kidnapped by the Nightwings and experimented on for their venom. When the Dragonets of Destiny escaped their cave, Queen Scarlet captured them and placed Glory on display on her arena balcony. After a few days, Glory would plunge the Skywings into chaos by using her venom on Scarlet and then escaping. A few weeks later, the Dragonettes arrive in the rainforest, where Glory learns about her tribe. This also comes with learning about the whole dragons being kidnapped situation. She confronts Queen Magnificent about it, but when Magnificent drags her feet, Glory takes matters into her own hands by using herself as bait. She's taken to the Nightwing Island and manages to escape along with a younger Rainwing named Kinkajou. Upon her return, she confronts Magnificent again and challenges her for the throne. When it comes to light that Glory is actually Grandire's descendant, Grandire forfeits, and Glory immediately begins drawing up plans for an attack on the Nightwings to rescue the other prisoners. Around the same time as the attack, the Nightwing volcano erupts, and once everyone is evacuated, Glory allows the Nightwings to live in the rainforest under her rule, making her the only known queen in Pyrian history to rule over 2 tribes. 6 months later, the other Dragonettes open Jade Mountain Academy, and Kinkajou is made part of the Jade Winglet. She leaves with them on their quest to find Winter's brother Hailstorm, and on said quest, the group encounters Chameleon's Nightwing form Shapeshifter, who puts Kinkajou out of commission by knocking her into a coma. She was taken to a hospital in Possibility, but after a few days was moved back to the rainforest. Chameleon would end up being confronted by Peril and the Jade Winglet, who took Darkstalker's scroll but allowed him to keep his other forms. Later, Darkstalker shows up in the rainforest and takes several of the Nightwings to the old Night Kingdom with him. Meanwhile, Turtle and Anemone revive Kinkajou, and the 3 of them follow Darkstalker. A few days later, Kinkajou and Kibli come across Chameleon, nice alliteration, and take the rest of his scroll pieces. During the final confrontation at Jade Mountain, Kinkajou, of all people, despite having done basically nothing for the entire arc so far, is the one who writes down the spell that turns Darkstalker into Peacemaker, a Nightwing-Rainwing hybrid. Later on, when the Pantalan dragons came to Pyria, Glory participated in a summit with the other queens to decide what to do about the Othermind situation, and she sent Moonwatcher and a Rainwing named Pineapple on the mission to Pantala, and that is where the Rainwings' history so far ends. So, what are my final thoughts? Well, the Rainwings are definitely one of the more fleshed out and unique tribes. Overall, I like them a lot, but there are some other tribes that I just like better. I'll give the Rainwings an 8 out of 10, placing them just above the Skywings. Time for fan art. We've got entries from Professor Chaos, Clowncore, Error the Furry, Rainfall, Raptor, Life is Scarier Than Death, Cactus Artist, Lay is Now Male, Dekedzi, another from Dekedzi, Inigo Xanthos, The Liquid Cat Loaf, another from The Liquid Cat Loaf, Marine Lachato, Mika Animations, and Chip. Thank you so much, guys, and if any of you want to submit your own fan art, you can do so in my Discord server. This has been Wings of Charcoal, and I will see you all in the next video.